guys!
Hey.
Today we want to talk about something that we get asked a lot about, and that's how much weight we can haul in our truck. We're going to kind of talk about that, and we're going to kind of talk about all straight trucks, because when it comes to how much weight a straight truck can haul, not all straight trucks are created equal.
Right. They're all built different. There's so many different factors that play into how much your truck can haul.
Our truck, we're comfortable with hauling about 5,000 pounds. Maybe a little over, but not much. A lot of people hear that and they're like, only 5,000 pounds, that's nothing. How, you know, what are you hauling, feathers? And there's a lot of reasons why we can only haul 5,000 pounds.
Yeah, some of the main factors is we have a big custom sleeper on here. This big custom sleeper weighs close to probably 2,000 pounds. Our truck is also spec'd with a DD13 engine, which is a Class 8 engine. It has an Ultra Shift 10-speed, which is a Class 8 transmission. We have a heavy liftgate on the rear. Bridge law comes into effect. While our rear is a 23,000 pound rated axle, it's only registered to be at 21, but then bridge law only allows for 20. So, and we'll get into that in a little bit when we discuss how to determine how much your truck can haul. And my big belly, you know, I mean, gosh. Yeah, we can lose a little bit of weight and probably be able to haul a few more 100 pounds, but you know, we live in the truck.
All of our stuff we have in the truck.
We have a lot of stuff in here. We do. We pack a lot of stuff in here, so.
Plus our fuel tanks. We have two 80-gallon fuel tanks, and those are full. That adds weight. We have a water tank, 15-gallon water tank. With that full, it adds more weight.
We have a porta potty. That's 5 gallons on the bottom, 5 gallons on top. That's 10 gallons. That thing can weigh up to 150 pounds or 100 pounds if it's completely full. So, you know, a lot of things factor in. And this is something we're always trying to be mindful of, is don't buy too much stuff. We don't need it. If we don't need it, we don't buy it. Every little thing we bring into the truck adds weight. But, you know, I mean, in our operation, we do just fine with the 5,000 pounds. Not everybody will do fine with only being able to haul 5,000 pounds. When we first started out in the expediting, the first truck we started in, it could only haul 8,000 pounds. So, not a huge difference, but it all factors in, you know, every little piece of clothing you put in here, it just adds weight. We've found the right median for us, that we do just fine, and sure, we miss out on some loads every once in a while, but on the grand scheme of things, on a whole year's perspective, I can guarantee we are not far behind a truck that has a tandem axle in the rear on total amount made. You know, it's not a huge difference. To spend $30,000 on our truck to be able to add that axle just doesn't make sense for us. If we ever buy another truck, we'll probably add it. It's a return versus cost, you know, for us. So it just doesn't make sense. We do fine with being able to handle 5,000 pounds.
So what about the trucks that do have tandem axles or a drop axle, lift axle, whatever you want to call it?
So, okay, let's talk about how to determine how much your truck can handle. The first and absolute thing you need to do is go get the truck weighed. You need to go to a cat scale, make sure you have all your belongings, everything you're going to want in the truck that you have, you need to get it weighed with
full tanks of gas,
full tanks of fuel, full tank water tank, fridge full of groceries, every single thing you would have stocked up, all your necessities, and then you go get weighed. Now, this is something I learned just not too long ago. It's probably about a year and a half ago, learning what bridge law is. I talked to a lot of people, and like some people will say, well, my registration says I can handle 54,000 pounds, and I'm like, no, you can't gross 54,000 pounds, and the reason being is because of bridge law. Bridge law is an allowance of how much weight is allowed on each axle. Like I stated earlier, our truck is rated to, or registered at 21,000 pounds.
For the rear.
For the rear. But bridge law dictates no single axle can be over 20,000 pounds.
Which cuts us 1,000 pounds.
Cuts us 1,000 pounds.
Right there, right off the bat.
Yeah, the truck actually has a 23,000 pound axle, but it's registered for 21. But bridge law tells us we can't be more than 20,000 on the rear.
Right.
Now, I know they're not really strict on that law sometimes with these smaller trucks, but I have had friends get a ticket for being over 20,000 pounds, but under the 21,000 pounds. So you can get a ticket for being over that 20,000 pounds in a straight truck like this. But not every state cracks down on it. Mm-hmm. I know Missouri's really strict about it. There may be a few others I haven't heard of, but technically it's a nationwide law, you know, that is bridge law. And there's certain bridge laws for tractor trailers, how far apart their rear axles and their trailer axles can be apart from each other in certain states, but that's kind of digressing. We're talking about straight trucks here.
And of course, if you have a tandem axle in the rear, the bridge law is going to be more than 20,000 for those folks.
Right. Now, and here's where it gets a little bit tricky for you guys. If you're registered at 54,000 pounds, it doesn't mean you can gross, your vehicle can be 54,000 pounds. And again, we come back to bridge law. Bridge law for two axles cannot be any more than 34,000 pounds. So if you take your 34,000 pounds and then whatever your front is rated for, and we'll talk about that in a minute, 34 plus 12, that's only 46,000 pounds. So the vehicle can, and that's if you got a 12,000 front axle. There's 13.2 front axles, there's 14,000 pound front axles, there's up to 16,000 pound front axles. But your rear, even though each axle is rated for 20,000 pounds, making 40,000 pounds, bridge law does not allow you to go over 34,000 pounds. We've talked to a lot of people that were really confused about that because their registration, their vehicle registration said they can be up to 54,000 pounds, but that contradicted bridge law.
So yeah, that's something that you really got to be aware of in the straight truck. And the way we look at it is that 5,000 pounds that we can haul, again, we could go over that some, but we would rather be a little bit more on the cautious side and be under what we can haul instead of over. Yeah. We're not going to get in trouble for being under, but we can get a ticket for being over or get fined, whatever.
Right. And that costs us CSA points and our company CSA points, and it just becomes a big old hassle. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about front axles. Now, front axles on these things can get a little tricky. This is where it usually gets tricky at. On the registration and on the sticker of what the truck's rated for, it says we have a 12,000 pound front axle. Now, we had our truck built. We spec'd it out. We have our entire spec sheet. Our leaf springs are rated for 13.2. Our shackles are rated for 13.2. All the bolts and shackles and leaf springs and suspension part is rated for 13.2, but our axle is stamped at a 12,000 pound axle. This is something a lot of people didn't know about, and I just recently learned about it too, is the manufacturer of the axle has a 12,000 pound, a 13,000 pound, a 14, a 16, you know, and so on. They have different ratings of axles, but the 12,000 pound and the 13,000 pound, it's the same axle, just with a different number stamped on it. It's the exact same axle, and they did that for manufacturing costs. You know, why build two different axles when you can just build one axle and stamp it with two different numbers? So technically, and you always want to verify this with your spec sheet, that the front axle is technically, it's a 13,200,000 pound axle. And that's not saying we try to go 13,000 pounds on our front. We try to stay as close to 12 as possible. And here is the most important thing you need to know if you try to go over 12,000 on your front. First is make sure your suspension, it was spec'd that way. That's typically how they're speccing these M2s with the DD13 and the ultra shift transmissions because they knew they were going to go over the 12,000. So
They're heavy.
They're heavy. They spec'd it this way, but they had to register it as a 12,000 pound because that's what's stamped on the axle. Now, the most important part, if you go over that 12,000 pounds, is what are your front tires rated for? That is the most important. There's a 14 ply tire and then there's a 16 ply tire. 14 ply tires are typically rated to be at no more than 12,000 pounds. If you go over that 12,000 pounds with 14 ply tires on the front, that can get really dangerous. Chances of blowouts, overweighting on the tires on your front axle, your steer axle at that, that's what you rely on to steer with, just very dangerous. So we highly recommend knowing what tires you have on there, and if you're getting new tires put on, make sure you get the proper ply tire on your truck. Our truck was spec'd from the manufacturer with 13 200-pound front tires, so 16 ply tires, and we just bought new tires a couple months ago, and I made sure to get the same thing. So our complete front end is actually rated for 13,200. Even though the 12,000 pound axle is stamped with a 12,000, it's the same exact axle as the 13.2, and you guys can check with the manufacturer of the axle. I believe it's Merit, or I'll double check the name and we'll put it up here. Understanding bridge law, that is the final ruling of what you can haul in your truck. No matter what the truck's spec'd for, no matter what it's registered for, it all comes down to bridge law, because if you go over bridge law, you're getting a ticket. I think they're more strict on 18-wheelers going over the bridge law, and I'll touch on that real quick. With bridge law for tractor trailers, their gross vehicle weight rating is 80,000 pounds. Now here's how that adds up. You got your two axles on your trailer, which are technically two 20,000 pound axles, but they're not allowed to be over 34,000 pounds on that because of bridge law. You got your two axles on the rear of the truck, which are 34,000, both 20,000 pound axles, but bridge law is 34,000 pounds. Then you got your front axle, which is 12,000 pounds. You add that up, that comes up to 80,000 pounds, and that's why tractor trailers aren't allowed to go over that weight. It's not because the truck's not rated to handle it, it's because of bridge law. That's the law. You're not allowed to go over that weight. Anything over that, you got to get permits and oversize or heavy haul, kind of stuff, and that's about as much as I know on the tractor trailer, guys.
Yeah, and when we say bridge law, what that means is basically all the bridges in the United States have a weight capacity that bridge or overpass can safely handle.
Right.
That's what bridge law is, and I don't know how they come up with it. I'm sure it's in the engineering, whatever.
There's some formula.
Yeah, but that's what bridge law is. It's what that bridge can safely hold. I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen people go on YouTube videos or news, they went over a bridge and the bridge collapsed. Well, they were too heavy for that bridge.
Right,
so that's what bridge law is.
Yeah, and that's why that's into effect. The ratings are to help distribute it no more than a certain amount of weight in one single area of the bridge. So
yeah,
that's it in a nutshell. If any of you more experienced tractor trailer guys that have been out here for years, share your knowledge down in the comments. If you guys got any questions, ask them down in the comments as well.
Yeah, thank you guys as always for watching and subscribing.
Until our next video.
Peace, love, and expediting.